First point, about spiritual disciplines, devotional acts, meditation, and so forth. Don't argue about them. Try them. He says the attitude, very common attitude, he says, among intellectuals is, I don't want to meditate, but if I do meditate, you know how I will meditate. The idea of spiritual life attracts them philosophically and aesthetically, but somehow they can never decide how to set about doing it. He says there, before they start, they must have their position clarified, the case precisely stated, all the arguments in mind, everything must be perfectly defined, clarified, and then I will begin my spiritual practice. It will never happen that way. First of all, without spiritual practice, without jumping into spiritual practice, that maturity, that understanding will not come. I remember one very senior Swami telling me that there's a lot to learn about Mantra Shastra. About Mantra Shastra, there are a lot of texts, a lot of depth is there. But generally, when we are initiated into the mantra, our gurus don't tell us much. They will tell us, this is your Ishta Devata, this is the mantra, this is how you have to repeat it. Some basic outlines and practices, and that's it. What about all the theories about language and object and the esoteric aspects of mantra? Nothing. Why? Because they said the doing itself will teach you much better than learning the theory will. So he says here, these people, they mistrust emotion. They must get everything straightened out in their rational mind, they say. It's impossible. And then none of the existing religions satisfy them. Some are too old-fashioned, some are too exotic, some are dreadfully vulgar. So they are very afraid of making fools of themselves, that others may, their contemporaries, they may laugh at them. What is this? You have started believing in religion. This idea that not to believe in religion, not to believe in spiritual life is somehow sophisticated, somehow the cutting edge of sophistication and being cool. I was recently in a conference at Stony Brook University, where a very noted, well-known Buddhist scholar, eminent Buddhist scholar, Bob Thurman was there, Robert Thurman. He jokes that my claim to fame is that I'm Uma Thurman's father. But he says he named her because he was studying Buddhism at that time in India. That's when she was born, and so he named her Uma. Anyway, so he was there, but that was his 85th birthday. He didn't come in person. There was a giant screen. He was there, bigger than life, online. And there he was saying, this is a disastrous thing that we are doing, generation after generation in this country. He's saying that in this country, actually, it's all over the world. That academic education tells young people that you have to grow up. Growing up means you stop believing in all these things. Once you stop believing in all these things means whatever, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Vedanta, spirituality, all of these, or any kind of idealism. Stop believing in these things. Then if you stop believing, if you really do, what are you left with? That part they will not say. What you're left with is a few basic instincts of biological instincts of this animal self that you cannot give up easily. Greed, lust, anger, selfishness, those will remain. And those will poison your personal life, your married life, your family life, your corporate life, your social life. And there'll be no antidote, because all the antidotes have been thrown away. We're not going to believe in. So he said, Professor Thurman, Bob Thurman, he said with tremendous emphasis that we are ruining generation after generation by telling them not to investigate this, not to. The most mature persons in every age, in every civilization, have been the spiritual seekers. I have no doubt about it. Our maturity begins when we become spiritually inquisitive. That's the beginning of maturity. In whichever way, whichever religion, whichever path you take up, some serious investigation. Just because that means the big questions in life. What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Is there anything after death? Does God exist? Is there a point to all of these big, huge questions of life? That means we are beginning to take those questions seriously if you turn to spiritual life. This, as Swami Virajananda points out, is hopeless. Don't wait for a calm sea, he tells us. Plunge in, anyhow, anywhere, and never mind the waves. An ounce of spiritual practice is worth more than a ton of theology. These people, he says, They talk and read thousands of books, and time passes and they do nothing. It is only through practice and first-hand experience that we achieve any degree of real wisdom.